Welcome back to the It Kula Podcast. My name is Jaclyn Kula, and today I am joined by host of Jays Talk Plus and the Raptors Show, analyst for both teams as well, along with many other titles. Welcome back to the show, Sportsnet, Blake Murphy. How you doing, Blake? Thanks for coming on again.
No problem. Hey, look, I came on last time, and the Jays went on a really terrific run after. So I figure let's run it back. I mean, the Raptors are doing pretty well on their own anyway without us, but let's see if we can give them a little juice too.
Exactly. We had a lot of great stuff to talk about back then when the Jays were, we didn't really know what to expect with that team. It was still a little bit early, and then they ended up having the greatest season of my lifetime. Unfortunately, I had a lot of heartbreak, which I do want to talk about a little bit quickly. Definitely a lot of Raptors stuff, which I'm really happy to talk about. I have my Kawhi jersey hanging up right there. I got to get a new jersey, though, because we have some big names on this team.
Yeah, and guys that we know now are going to stick around for a little while. I always get people that ask me, and one of my favorite things about the championship run was like finding out like, oh, who is like the guy that newer fans gravitated toward, and it seemed like Fred was the most common one. Like Fred was, and then if you were like a longtime fan or a fan who lapsed and came back, you got a Kyle jersey. So that's, and now I'm so curious to see how this will play out. Where like I think like this year with the Jays, it was probably Davis Schneider, and then by the end, Ernie had stolen some of that. But I'm curious who the like non-star guy is that fans will gravitate to. Because the last couple of years, if anyone asked me, I'd be like, I don't know, like Scotty's gonna be here, but anyone else, who knows?
Really could not say about that team. Yeah, with Kawhi, I didn't know if we were gonna get him for a while, but I got the jersey like right in October, I believe, of 2019, and it's still a beloved jersey of mine because of what happened. But right now, I'm thinking like, who do I want to get? Who's that underrated guy? I think Shed is becoming like a fan favorite just because he's so funny, like everything he does off the court as well, and he's such a baller too.
Yeah,
but a lot
it's
of
a good
fun.
choice.
It's right. I don't know. I got to debate a little bit. You know, we got Ingram who's here now, Scotty, RJ, a lot of fun names. But before we get into the positives, I want to talk a little bit about the Jays first because I think a lot of us are still healing. Thankfully, the Raptors are doing really well, which I think is really helpful. But getting over this loss, what has helped you the most kind of moving forward? Because I know you're an analyst for the Jays, but you're also a Jays fan, which you can admit to as well, that you're heartbroken, right?
Yeah, and like, look, being in the job does change your fandom a little bit, but like we all get into this industry because we're fans first, and we all want to cover those teams because we were fans of them. So no, I'm not there like cheering in the press box, but like I want them to win because you're around those people every day and you want them to see success. It's good for the job. It's good for the show. It's good for the TV hits. It's good for like all of my friends are huge Jays fans too. I want them to be happy. I don't want people to be bringing up Yamamoto to me for years. I don't want people tagging me in Blake Snell Twitch stream clips.
Oh no, those are the worst. Those are the worst.
So yeah, like it changes a little bit, but you're still like, you want the team to do well. It's better for all sorts of different purposes, on top of just, you know, that you get into this because you're a fan. So now, because I do two sports and two roles, I didn't really have a choice but to just like reset quickly. So the Jays ended on Saturday. I was there until like 3 a.m. that night. And then Sunday I had like off. But Monday was our last Jays show, and Tuesday was my first Raptors show. So that Sunday, I had to like catch up on Raptors stuff that I'd missed. I think I got to all the games except one that I hadn't been along for. So I just had to go right into Raptors mode, and like thankfully they're good, because if this had been last year's Raptors team, like I would be miserable right now. I'd be sitting there during my Raptors show with my arms folded, just like thinking about Isaiah Kiner-Falefa's leadoff third and stuff like that. So going back to the Raptors helped a little bit. I also think, you know, we'll see how the offseason plays out. Baseball's so weird with how the offseason plays out slowly, where if this were the Raptors and they had lost in Game 7 of the NBA Finals, like that was almost a month ago now, we would know all their transactions by now. We would know all the free agency, all the trades, the draft would have happened. Baseball's offseason is so weird like that, where we don't know. So, like, I do think it leaves you on kind of like a cliffhanger of optimism, whereas if, like, the next week Bo had left and Bassett had left and Scherzer had left and things like that, it would maybe feel even worse. Mm-hmm. But I think for right now, you can still hang on to they were really close, and a lot of them are going to be back, and maybe even more coming in. So, yeah, I'm kicking around those things. I will say I'm not a big video game guy, but I play out of the park baseball, which is like where I'm Ross Atkins basically in the game. You can play the games, but mostly you're the GM. And I've run through the off season so many times now. I'm just like start back on the morning after Game 7 and play it out. Yeah, so I'm coping that way a little bit too, of trying to like wish cast transactions.
That's the way to do it. Yeah, I've been like an overly positive person where I'm like, because we lost this, we're going to build a dynasty afterwards. That's kind of the way I'm viewing it. That we're going to win 2 more instead of just 1 more. I'm kind of making up crazy stuff.
And like all this stuff comes up that like you can grab onto little things, right? Like my co-host on the Raptors show, Matt Bonner, he was a part of Spurs teams that went up multiple times against the dynasty Heat. And like the LeBron, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. I guess I shouldn't say dynasty, but they 4 finals and 2 championships.
Don't show this to Matt, but I have that LeBron jersey right here. I have that Heat classic jersey sitting right here.
At least it's not the Ray Allen one. I think Ray Allen's the one that gives them the most flashbacks. But he has so he became a Jays fan during the run. He's from New Hampshire, so he's normally a Red Sox fan. But he has latched on to the Heat when the Heat won their 2nd championship. So similar to the Dodgers, big dynasty team. Everyone's like, do we got to change the salary cap rules? How can they get all these guys together? They win their 2nd in a row, and they beat the Spurs in a heartbreaking Game 6 and a heartbreaking Game 7.
Yes.
And then the Spurs came back the next year and beat them. So Matt's really hung on to that, is like he has lived that season that the Jays had. The Heat are the Dodgers, and then the Jays will come back next year. So, like, that's one of the ways. I know everyone saw Tetsuya Imai's quotes the other day when he was talking to Daisuke Matsuzaka about, like, I don't really want to join the guys on the Dodgers. I want to beat the guys on the Dodgers. And then, obviously, Jays fans are like, well, you know where you could come to beat the Dodgers. Yeah. There's lots... There you go. There's lots of stuff like that we can kind of latch onto to try to be positive. Or maybe this, maybe that... That's the whole point of the offseason. Yeah, I'd still rather have the World Series, but it's fun to be able to do that stuff and feel really close still.
Yeah, you know, nothing will be as good as this season, and it was such a special season. I've said on my podcast a ton of times, I went to 11 games, and they won all 11 of those games.
Wow!
So I don't know how we get Rogers to hear about my story here, but I'm a good luck charm. I went to 3 postseason games, Game 1 of the ALDS, Game 6 of the ALCS, and Game 1 of the World Series. So... guys, can we send me season tickets or something? But
yeah, seriously, get on it, Roger.
The season was so special for me because obviously of that, but there were just so many moments that will never make this season so special. And you know, something that was so amazing that ended up in heartbreak was the Bichette home run in the Game 7 was one of the greatest moments of my life, watching that on TV. To now, I won't even watch that clip. So I'm going into now free agency here with Bo. If Bo does not return, how will that feel going into the 2026 season?
Yeah, it's so interesting, and you know, obviously it'll feel a little differently if Bo doesn't come back, but they sign Kyle Tucker and Tetsuya Imai, and versus if Bo doesn't come back and they, I don't know, sign Ha-Sung Kim, who is good, but the fan base has no attachment to. Or Bo leaves and, you know, they spread the money around and that won't feel, and they're like, hey, maybe Josh Kasevich will be a guy. And so there's different ways. And I don't think they're going to cheap out. Like, I think if they lose Bo, they're going to spend the money elsewhere. But it would be disappointing. Like, I was really, really happy for Bo that they extended the playoffs long enough that he got in there. And he was not anywhere near 100%. If that was the regular season, there's no chance he's playing there. So the amount of times he came up, the fact that he took on a different position, that he came up with the Game 7 moment until other Game 7 moments usurped it, it's awesome. I think, you know, it would be unfortunate if that were his last moment as a Blue Jay, but I do think at least, you know, if that's the end of his time with the Blue Jays, he ended it fighting through injury, giving more than he maybe needed to heading into free agency, back to the team, back to the franchise, back to the fan base. And he's a guy who came through. It's not like he came back and fought through it and went 2 for 20 in that series. He was a dude. So I think, you know, that's not how you want to end it. It would be great if him and Vlad can kind of finish the story. But, yeah, I mean, at least he went out on his, I was going to say best foot. I don't know. Neither leg was in that great shape by the end, but at least he had some good moments and was able to get back and didn't sit out his final games as a Blue Jay if those were them.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it'll definitely feel very different and a little bit upsetting, even if we do get some of those big names, just because Bichette has been a part of this team, a part of Vladdy's identity with Toronto as well. So definitely hoping to see Bo back. I want to shift to the Raptors because too much going on. I heard Kendrick Perkins was on the Raptors show this morning. He gave a shout out to Glorilla for Brandon Ingram's balling out. When was the last time someone of his nature and an ESPN kind of guy really showing love to the Raptors? Was it 2019, 2020? Like, we haven't had this in a while where ESPN is showing love to our team.
Yeah, I think probably there was a little bit in the run it back year before the pandemic disrupted it. Like, the Raptors' regular season record was actually better that year than the championship year, and like they lost Kawhi and like Stanley Johnson and Rondé were the replacements. Like, they lost Kawhi and he just kind of left. So I remember them getting some love once everyone kind of like they won 15 games in a row that year, and then I remember everyone being like, okay, this is and they had a couple national TV games that year because of coming off the title, but they also they got pantsed on Christmas because against Boston because they had like 7 or 8 healthy guys at that point. That was a weird year. But I think they got a little bit of love that year in the afterglow of the championship. But that's the last time. Like, they were in Tampa during that year, which was an absolute joke and a miserable season. And I don't mean joke as in it was nobody's fault with the Raptors. They did the best job they could, but it was miserable down there. And I say that having gone there for a couple weeks, it was not. It was a bad situation. That
vibes are not high.
Yeah, like Teresa Resch and her team did a great job converting it into an NBA caliber setup. But it sucked for everyone being permanently quarantined basically. And then from there, the narrative around them for 2 years was well, they're stuck in the middle. Like, they got Scotty Barnes now, but the other guys are a little older or getting paid. And then I still maintain they were pretty close. Like, if you look at the talent with Fred and Pascal and OG and Scotty Barnes, that should have been a good team. And then when they went out and traded Jakob Poeltl, I didn't love the move because you had given up a first round pick for Thad Young, then you give up a first round pick for Jakob Poeltl and sign him to a full market value deal. But if you were going to do that and you kept Fred VanVleet, you could have got there. Anyway, this is not your question.
Yeah.
But the
continue. You got
the questions around the team were not this team's really good. It's why isn't this team better? And then it was why isn't this team packing up shop and rebuilding around Scotty's timeline? So yeah, it's been a minute since they were looked at positively like that. It's great that Perkins was high on them entering the season.
Yeah.
I should say he's got his chest out about the Raptors being right about them for sure. And we're starting to see a little more now. Bill Simmons has kind of done the my bad, I was wrong. Zach Lowe and Mo DeKeel talked about it the other week on the Zach Lowe show. I didn't catch much of the Peacock broadcast because I was watching the Sportsnet broadcast the other night, but apparently they were really complimentary about where the Raptors are at as well too. So it's kind of one of those things whether everyone cannot pay attention to all 30 teams all the time, but when you're 13-5 and you win 8 games in a row and you beat the Cavs 3 times, even within people have to notice. Those people look at the standings every day just like we do, and you're going to see Toronto near the top of the standings every day for a while now. So they kind of have to perk up, so to speak.
Yeah, I love that. No, what's his nickname? He's going by Jurassic Perk now, I think.
Jurassic Perk, yeah.
I love that. I adore that. But yeah, listen, the Raptors are really fun again, and it's really nice to watch this because I remember just loving this team in the 2019-20 season, and then, yeah, COVID happens and basketball becomes, as you kind of said, it was lame. I think for everyone kind of felt, even if your team was good, I hated watching it in the bubble, and I think a lot of people agree. But to now watch our team with so much excitement and the fanfare, it's not Rogers Center yet. It's not at that level yet. But being at the arena has that different vibe again, which is really nice. And what is it about this team all of a sudden that is just working? Because it's a lot of these young guys, a lot of draft picks, but then it's Ingram. I know we got later on in the year, but why is this team clicking all of a sudden?
Yeah, offensively, I think it's fairly straightforward, and that they had some nice pieces that didn't exactly fit. And Brandon Ingram is Brandon Ingram. He's not an offense unto himself, but he's a guy that you can run a ton of your offense through. And, at the time of the trade, I had some questions about, like, is the timing right? You give up a pick that could potentially be a top 10.
Yeah.
They're in the luxury tax for the foreseeable future. How do they manage that? But on court, I remember I did a big write-up, and I dove into some of Ingram's Pelicans film, and I was like, damn, like, I think he's an underrated passer. I don't think the Pelicans used him well enough as a passer. And, you get into some of the other stuff. It's like, okay, Brandon Ingram runs a lot of pick and roll, and the Raptors don't run very much pick and roll at all. Could you have him run more pick and roll, or could all those strengths that he have be used differently? And the Raptors, it's a huge credit to Darko Rajakovic, because I didn't see this specific thing coming, but they've kind of gone throwback with some of their offensive stuff for Brandon Ingram, where they run a lot of stuff for him that is similar to the old stuff they used to run for DeRozan to get into the mid-range stuff. And, you could do some of that with Kawhi as well, but it's not like they had like a killer mid-range guy the last couple years. So that's cool to see. And then they run a ton of stuff for him that 10, 12 years ago in the league, you would have run for bigs to get them established on the post. They're running a ton of stuff for him out of the high post or the pinch post, and it's just like, I think because they don't have great spacing, like they don't have elite three-point shooters, but everyone is a little bit of a threat to either knock it down, or if you scramble out to them late, drive by you. Like, that's RJ's thing. He's on the second side, and he's not an elite three-point shooter, but if you're a split second late, he's gone, and he's in the paint. So they've gotten really creative with that and how they've built around Ingram. They've done a good job staggering their lineup. So even though the starting five still aren't, the starting five have been good, obviously.
Yeah.
But as a five-man unit, it's not like they've killed opposing teams. They're just okay. But they've done a really good job staggering. It's like, okay, these pieces go well with Scotty running the bench. These pieces go well with Ingram running the bench. So let's mix and match. The Shed-Mamu pairing has been really good. Grady hasn't played that well, but him and Jacoby together has given like some nice juice as a pair. So I just think they've done a lot of rotation stuff well and a lot of making the offense work well. Defensively, I have a few more questions about the sustainability. I think Brandon Ingram is probably the most effortful that he's been in the last couple of years on that end. Like, he's never going to be an elite defender, but he's like 9 feet long.
Wingspan is crazy.
Yeah, and he has great feet. Like, you can't have that kind of footwork on the offensive end and then not have good footwork on defense. Although DeMar does, so maybe you can. But yeah, so I think, and then Scotty Barnes is just like kind of an all-world defender at this point.
Yeah.
But there are some like yellow flags in their defensive profile, so I could see the defense cooling off a little bit. But I think there's enough there. Like, they have, like, Jamison Battle can't get on the floor, and he's shooting like 100% on threes, it feels like. Ochai is going to be out of the rotation when RJ's back, whenever that happens. So I think if you look, that depth is good. You're not going to play 12 guys in a game, but if RJ is going to miss 2 weeks with a knee thing, you have lots of guys who can take on a little bit more role. If anyone other than Jakob Poeltl or Scotty Barnes misses significant time, you're going to have depth to kind of fill that in. So I'm pretty confident that they'll have a high floor most of the season. And then one of the things that's kind of always been a Raptors staple when they're good, but sometimes good teams can lose it, is they play so hard. And like, I know that feels like table stakes, like every team should play hard, but every team doesn't play hard for 48 minutes. It's not a real thing. And like, go watch a Clippers game. That team is full of guys who are as old as me. They don't play hard for 48 minutes. It's just not something that they do. It's something that Jordi Fernandez has talked a lot about with his Nets, where like there's a difference between losing and being a loser. The Raptors learned that the last couple years under Darko, and I think it's something that's carried over. And, that's not specifically why they're winning, just because they play hard. But if you look at 82 games, I think there are going to be times, and on a Tuesday in January against the Charlotte Hornets, where playing hard could be the difference between that win and a trap game loss or something like that. So I think they just have a ton of little things going well for them, in addition to you dropped Brandon Ingram into a team that really could have used the guy who could score like Brandon Ingram.
Yeah, it's been very helpful having him. Yeah, you know what, the ball movement has been so amazing with this team, where it really hasn't felt like we've seen this in a long time. And you mentioned RJ Barrett, he's out for sure at least a week, could be a little bit more. You said about how like the bench is working well. Who is really going to step up? Because I know Ingram dropped, almost 40 points, but it can't happen every single night. Could we see maybe Grady Dick getting involved a little bit more, making those shots, not going 0 for 5 in a night kind of thing?
You hope so. Like they need that out of Grady Dick right now. Opposing defenses are still guarding him like he's Kyle Korver. Like they guard him like he's a 45% 3-point shooter, even though for his career he's like a 35% 3-point shooter. He's actually, over the last 9 games, this is the second worst shooting stretch of his entire career on three. So he's in a bad way right now. They're going to keep feeding him minutes, and he's got to hit those shots. I think the two guys that I'm looking to more than Grady, though, because Grady, it's just a matter of, you got to make your shots. I think Jamal Shed is a pretty obvious one. He's played so well. The assist-to-turnover ratio is unbelievable. He plays with such good pace. But more than anything, I think he's the guy that they're going to close games with. He's not going to start in RJ's place all that much. I think they'll probably stick with Jacoby starting, at least for now. But Jamal Shed is going to close games. They like having 2 point guards out there. He's not an elite shooter, but he can knock it down, and he's really good. If you double Ingram and you kick it out, Shed can make the next pass. We saw against Donovan Mitchell, he got that assignment defensively late in the game and looked good. So he's a guy that I think they'll trust late in games. And then Jacoby Walter's going to get the starts in the interim. And I thought he looked okay defensively against Donovan Mitchell. I think he's, on balance, probably their best option guarding point guards at the point of attack. So he's going to have some opportunity there to show it. So those are kind of the two guys. Grady will make shots or he won't. But I think Shed and Walter, one of them's going to start, one of them's going to close. And that's, RJ's a big closing time guy. So we've seen it. He plays off Ingram really well. Someone's going to have to hit those buckets. I love the Ingram mid-range stuff, but it can't all be Brandon Ingram from the mid-range. So having Jamal Shed out there in those spots will be a good opportunity for him too.
Definitely, yeah. Ingram has looked amazing. He's definitely on pace for a career year. I would say, right? Just the way he's playing, he's looking like prime Kevin Durant right now with the mid range and just the overall ball handling and just ball knowledge on the court. I'm hoping that he continues that. With Grady, the post game poses. They keep on winning, and the biceps are getting bigger and bigger and bigger in every picture. They got to keep on winning to continue those photos. I kind of love, though, that Grady is still in a really great positive mindset, even when he's not playing his best, which really shows kind of the gamer that he is, even though he's not having his best week, best couple weeks, best season yet. He's really a part of this team, and that's really what's special about this team, is that they feel like a true team again, not like one guy, another guy, another guy. So it's really exciting. You didn't mention Colin Murray-Boyles. We haven't seen a ton of him. You were on my show before the draft, and you mentioned how he was a possible guy that we were going to pick. You were right, so congrats on the pick there. But what are your early thoughts on what we have seen of him so far in his rookie year?
Yeah, I'm impressed. I don't think he looks that much like a rookie. He's struggled a little bit with some of the size and the physicality from the big, Steven Adams, Giannis size guys. But for the most part, he's looked pretty good. I think they'll want to see more passing from a volume perspective, but he has a good eye for passing on offense. He's attacked the rim a little bit more than maybe I expected from the college tape. And then defensively, I don't think there's any question he's going to be a really good defensive player. And I think he's going to be role versatile. I think he's going to be positionally versatile in the same way that kind of Scotty Barnes has developed into defensively. So that side I have no questions. He's a rookie on a good team. The reality with that is some nights you're going to play 10 minutes, some nights you're going to play 25, and some nights you're going to get rooked by the refs, some nights you're going to get rooked by Giannis. He had some foul. There was a play against Giannis, and it's just, I don't highlight it to criticize Colin Murray-Boyles, but I highlight because this is how tough Giannis is. And the Bucks have cleared everything out vertically, so it's they're just trying to get the ball into Giannis in the paint. And Giannis is going hash mark to hash mark, trying to get the post entry, and Colin Murray-Boyles is doing a good job three-quartering it, so kind of arm on the hip and arm out so that they can't enter it. And he does a good job, and he forces Giannis to move positions a couple times, and then finally Giannis gets just an inch. They drop the pass over the top, boom. And it's just you can fight with Giannis for 16 seconds and win, and then the shot clock's 24 seconds, and Giannis is Giannis. He's going to find a window. So I think there'll just be moments like that as he learns to figure out the size and how to handle some of those bigger guys. But really impressed early on at how the lights haven't seemed too bright for him. It doesn't seem like he minds, that it is Giannis across the court from him or whoever it is that night. I mean, he's started some games. He's played some center in those bench units where they kind of let Sandro play power forward defensively because he's not, as natural a defender there. So it's been cool. It's been really, really encouraging to see early on.
It's been exciting. Yeah, you talking about Murray-Boyles guarding Giannis reminds me of when I was in high school. I was on a very short team, and I was about maybe 5'6" at the time. I think I'm 5'7" now, guarding like a 6'1" girl. And yeah, I was in those battles where you have to have your arm all the way up, and it's hard to win all of those battles for all game. And you would get kind of cooked a lot of times. But going into kind of going a little bit ahead a little bit with the trade deadline. Still have a while. It's a long season, thankfully. Not as long as baseball though, which I think is nice. I think still because baseball is its own craziness. I'm looking at this team and I'm really happy with what we're seeing, but I'm still kind of looking for one more piece to kind of make a run because the East is wide open, which I definitely want to talk about soon because the East is it's not the West, that's for sure. It's a very different league than what the West is right now. Are there any names that you think could be a potential player to end up with the Raptors? I know it's very early to say, but anyone that you actually want to see with this young core?
Yeah, it's pretty early for that, like you said. Right now this is the worst answer, but the two things I'm kind of looking at is like how do they get out of the luxury tax, which I think is probably attaching a second round pick to Ochai and just you say goodbye to him to get out of the tax. And it's not like obviously like they have the money, but like in the NBA there are like aggressively higher penalties if you repeat in the tax. Yeah. So it'll just make sense to deduct the tax. And then I go back and forth. Like I think if all you cared about was winning right now, I think they could use a backup big. I like Sandro. I like CMB. I think they're probably one big short in terms of what if Jakob needed a night off? What if he got hurt? Yeah. How small would you look really quickly? And so, Day'Ron Sharpe is a guy from the Nets that I think is underused. He only makes $6 million, so you could probably figure it out. And like even on a team like the Nets, like he's coming off the bench and not playing a ton, and they've got Clowney and Claxton ahead of him. I think that's a guy you could target. Now, higher up, if you really want to get splashy, the Kings are a mess. Malik Monk is a guy. I'm not going to say DeMar. I know people would like DeMar. That might be. Look, even as a counterculture offense, that might be too much mid-range if you have Ingram and DeMar on the.
Fighting for that ball.
Yeah, although the paint would be wide open then. But Malik Monk's a guy that has always made some sense with this roster. I don't know exactly how you get him. The tough part is like once you get past the like Day'Ron Sharpe level of guy, you're talking about like one of RJ or Quickly or Pirtle has to be outbound. It's the way the cap math works. So this will be the tough part is, I'm sure they've had conversations. RJ is not extension eligible now until the offseason, but I'm sure they have an idea of what RJ is looking for and an idea of if that fits long term. So it's tough for me to see them making like a big splashy move right now because you obviously have to give up a good player to get a good player, but it would be hard to like, pluck RJ from the core right now, even though maybe long term it makes some sense. Everything looks so good right now. So I don't know. I think it'll be lower end shopping. I could see them in the market for an extra big. I could see them trying to duck the tax. But I think with where you are, like even though things are really good, like you don't want to take opportunity away from Colin Murray-Boyles. You still need to figure out what Jacoby and Jamal Shedd and Grady Dick are. Like even though you could upgrade the Grady Dick or Jacoby spot right now, like you're committed to those guys long term and you want to keep feeding them minutes. So maybe I'll feel differently in February if they're still second in the East. But for right now, I think pretty committed to the moderate win now season where they're still giving a lot of runway to some of the younger guys.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with what we're seeing so far with this team. Yeah, I'm kind of looking for maybe another shooting guard, another 3-point guy. Maybe I know he hasn't been having a good year at all, but like a Klay Thompson, just kind of having that veteran presence. That's crazy take, maybe some might say, but that's just kind of what I want to see. Also, Klay, I want to see him win another championship because we were part of, seeing him lose his championship. Sorry, Klay, he didn't play. But, I want to talk about the East because, as I said, the East is wide open. And obviously, part of that is Celtics lost Jason Tatum. Pacers are at an all-time low right now without their guy, Tyrese Halliburton. We have Pistons, we have Cavs, Heat, Knicks. And then Raptors, obviously. Who do you see taking over the East come the next couple of months or so?
Yeah, standings-wise, I think it's wide open. Like, I think I think if you're Detroit and Toronto, you have changed your goal from let's avoid the play-in to let's host the playoff series, and if you're Detroit, maybe even higher than that. And I think that's cool. That's really fun to have it as wide open as that. Big picture in terms of who is a threat to say win the conference. Yeah. I still think the Knicks and Cavs are toward the top. The Knicks' best 6 or 7 guys are just so good. And there's an adjustment period with Mike Brown. They're doing a lot of different things offensively. You're starting to see that while Thibodeau was rigid in his ways, there was a reason for some of that rigidity. So they've got some things to figure out. But I think as long as Jalen Brunson stays healthy, on paper, their playoff rotation is probably the best one. The Cavs have 4 really good players and some depth pieces around that. I know the Raptors beat them 3 times, but 2 of those were half. Look, you got to beat the team that's in front of you. That doesn't take anything away from the Raptors' wins. But if we're talking about what a team looks like in April, I still think the Cavs are pretty dangerous. And then the one team that I think should probably start getting talked about just as much with the Detroit and Toronto of, they're better than we thought. The Miami Heat are right behind the Raptors, and they've only had Tyler Hero back for 1 game. Norm is having just another unbelievable season. Norm just wakes up and gets you 20 points efficiently, no problem.
Too easy.
Yeah, and I didn't think the Heat would be terrible, but I didn't think they'd be this good, especially without Tyler Hero. So Spoelstra's done a good job there. So those are I don't think the Hawks are as good as maybe I thought they would be. The Magic certainly haven't been as good as maybe expected. The 76ers are still dealing with all the injury stuff, and the Bucks can't win a minute with Giannis off the floor. So I think it's probably Knicks and Cavs are still the 2 teams that I think, if I had to pick, one of those teams probably gets out of the East. But Toronto, Detroit, Miami as a second tier now has gotten really, really interesting really quickly.
These has definitely been interesting. Yeah, with the Celtics, they're 9-8 right now. Is there nothing going on for them because of Tatum being out? And then obviously they lost guys like Porzingis and Holiday this offseason. Can Jaylen Brown, lead this team to an Eastern Conference Finals?
I don't think a finals, no. And I don't know what the latest is on Tatum in terms of timeline, if he could get back, if they would even push it, given how, major an injury in Achilles is. I think they're good. When you have Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, and Jaylen Brown, you're not in the East, you're not going to be that bad. Some of their depth guys have stepped up a little better. But I think weirdly, the Celtics will, I think they'd still trade Anthony Simons if they can find a home for him. I think this really was supposed to be a gap year for a bunch of tax and CBA reasons that we don't need to get into on this podcast. And then also, clear up some space and make sure you're ready to make a run again next year when Tatum's healthy. So I don't think they have too many good players to be bad, but I guess what I'm saying is I don't think they will be super motivated to push in further. I don't think they're going to be, trading a pick away or trading a young guy away to make a playoff push. I think they're pretty committed to, hey, this is a gap year. If we make the playoffs, awesome, but if not, we're ready for the Jason Tatum comeback year next year.
Yeah, I'm kind of putting that with my New York Giants. I'm kind of because Jackson Dart is injured and Cam Scadaboo's injured and Malik Neighbors injured. Just my Giants love is it's on hold right now, even before we were eliminated. So I'm kind of relating it to that, And
Cam Scadaboo too busy on Monday Night Raw.
Cam Scadaboo, I know. I saw people weren't happy about that. I love that.
It was fun.
What's your opinion? I think it's great.
I love that side. I mean, I'm going to try to corner Tyrese Halliburton at the game tonight and talk wrestling with him. I love that stuff. Jalen Brunson's gotten involved. Trae Young's gotten involved before. I know those guys didn't get involved physically, and Scadaboo kind of did, but whatever. It's fun. He's in. As long as he's going to hurt himself worth, I don't think. It's not going to change his timeline.
Yeah, exactly. He's taking it easy, but with the Pacers, I look at that team, and it was such a heartbreaking loss. Game 7, Tyrese goes down, and it's this devastating injury, and they've only won 2 games so far. So Siakam can't do it all on his own. Are the Pacers also kind of a written off year and kind of wait for Tyrese to rehab that and get back?
Yeah, I think so. And Siakam's been really good. They're asking him to do a ton. Andrew Nembhard and Benedict Mathurin, who are Canadian and we obviously root for, are expanding their roles and doing pretty well in it too. But I just don't think they have the pieces. And it wasn't just that they lost Tyrese. That nudged them to make the Miles Turner decision that they did. So they don't really have any centers that are surefire starting centers. And they're just not, like I said with Boston, they're not going to leverage in for this year, I don't think. I think they're going to... The other thing is, they got their pick back. So originally they didn't have their pick for this year. They traded to the Raptors for Siakam. And then the Raptors traded to New Orleans for Ingram. And then New Orleans traded it back to the Pacers in a series of moves that got them Derek Queen this past offseason. So 6 months ago, the Pacers would have been like, oh no, we don't even have our pick, or we only have our pick if it's top 4 or something like that. So now they can kind of lean in a little bit and be like, okay, Tyrese will be back next year. All these guys except Mathurin are under contract. Get a top 5 pick in there. I think you can feel pretty good about it long term. But this year, I mean, there's just like 2-15, and Pascal's been played as many minutes as basically anyone in the NBA over the last 5-6 years. Like, you don't want to push it with him. I'd probably start resting him on back-to-backs, and Pascal's not going to like that. But you don't want to end up winning 25 games instead of 20. Exactly. So I think that's probably the mentality that they'll have from here, and They also just need to, they have an imperative to, they got to give a lot of minutes to, Jarris Walker and Ben Shepherd and guys like that to figure out what they have.
Definitely. Yeah, the East is wide open, as we said, and that's kind of the reason why the Raptors could somehow make a run. And, when everyone called me crazy about the Blue Jays going to the World Series, I stuck with it. So I'll just make a crazy prediction, say the Raptors can do something interesting this year, because this is our year. I want to play a quick game with you here. You're going to build your starting 5 with $15. So I'm going to give you a player, how much they're worth, and you get to choose what you want, and we'll see what kind of team you build here. Okay, so for point guard, for $1, you get current Kyle Lowry. $2, Mike Conley. $3, LaMelo Ball. $4, Jalen Brunson. $5, Stephen Curry.
Okay. Oh, I don't get to know everyone?
Nope.
Wow.
That's the trick.
Okay. I'm going to take Brunson then out
Brunson
of that group.
for $4.
Yeah.
$4. All right, you got $11 to go. Next, we're going to go shooting guard. $1, Grayson Allen. $2, Dante DiVincenzo. $3, Zach LaVine. $4, Donovan Mitchell. And $5, Anthony Edwards.
All right, I'm going to cheap out here and go DiVincenzo.
I love that pick. That pick. I'm a DiVincenzo guy. Big fan of him when he was on the Knicks and on the Wolves now as well. Small forward, we have Kyle Kuzma for $1. $2, Andrew Wiggins. $3, Cooper Flagg. $4, Kawhi Leonard. And $5, LeBron James in his prime.
In his prime?
Yes.
LeBron in his prime, no questions asked. Glad I saved some money earlier.
You saved, so you had $9 before, I believe, right? So now you have so now you just spent $5, and you are down to just $4 now. All right, power forward for $1, Jonathan Kuminga. $2, Aaron Gordon. $3, Scotty Barnes. $4, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and $5, Kevin Durant in his prime.
Ooh, okay, you said how much? I have $4 left?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to take Scotty, and I'm going to, whoever the $1 center is who I'm getting.
For $1, you will be getting current Matt Bonner.
That's great.
I knew you would love that. Yeah. For $2, you would have Brooke Lopez. $3, Rudy Gobert. $4, Wemby. $5, Jokic.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm happy I used my $5 on prime LeBron still. But yeah, that's damn. That's yeah.
Listen, he still has it, I'm sure. Bonner can still ball out, I'm sure.
I mean, he can still shoot, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if he can handle the running around level that they expect from centers nowadays, but I don't know. He was talking about on the show today about how much he's bench pressing now.
Yeah,
so
I heard that.
Maybe he can do it.
So your team, pretty solid. Brunson, DiVincenzo, LeBron, Scotty, and Bonner. I'm a big fan of this team. I think you guys can make a run there. All right, to end it off, I just want to end it off with some football talk. I know you're a big Jaguars fan. I'm a Giants fan. My team is out. Nothing to talk about there. The Jaguars are making a bit of a run here. Not so sure where they're at. They have a chance of making the playoffs, of course. How are you feeling about this team and Trevor Lawrence, and just kind of what do you see going on so far?
I think they're pretty fake. I don't think they're this good. I think they have been gifted a couple games. They've tried it. They barely beat the Raiders. The game last weekend that went to overtime, they should have won handedly. They had 5-6 opportunities to put the Cardinals away. The Chiefs win. Trevor Lawrence literally fell on his butt on the final play of the game.
What an ending. What an ending, though.
They've had some gifts on the way. Now, the AFC South isn't that great. The Texans are really good defensively, and the Colts are pretty solid. So it's open that they could get to the Wild. They still have 2 games left against the Colts, too. So, if the Texans do them a favor this weekend, the division's kind of in the mix still. And then they're going to get Brian Thomas and Travis Hunter back or at some point.
Yeah.
So, it's not bad. They're not a bad spot. I like what they do defensively. They're a big, playmaking team defensively, force a lot of turnovers. But my faith in Trevor Lawrence has gotten pretty shaky over this is year 5. It's not supposed to be, if this and if that and training wheels and stuff like that. He misses too many plays. He doesn't manage the clock well. He doesn't have awesome pocket presence. Now, look, I'm not the world's best football analyst. I don't follow it as closely as I do basketball and baseball. But yeah, when I watch, it's not a guy that I have awesome confidence in, even as they've added more weapons around him. So I think they could probably, with the division and how many wins they've pocketed, they could probably get to the playoffs. But it's hard to imagine them making much noise if Trevor Lawrence doesn't take a pretty big step forward at some point.
Definitely. I think, with the Colts, I think they're also frauds. I think they're getting huge wins. I think Jonathan Taylor is fantastic. The coaching's right, but I still think Daniel Jones is Daniel Jones. I had all those years as a Giants fan with Daniel Jones, and, I still think he's going to end up being Daniel Jones in the end. But do you have Super Bowl favorites right now of who you think can do it? Because honestly, I think it's wide open this year. I don't think it's like the previous years with the Chiefs and Eagles kind of dominating. I think this year's wide open.
Yeah, even in the AFC, the Patriots are 10-2, but I don't think they're an overwhelming favorite really to go on that deeper. Same with the Broncos are 9-2, but are people oh yeah, Bo Nix is the guy for sure? That, not, I mean, obviously he's a starting caliber quarterback, but to go all the way, I think I would still pick the Eagles if I had to choose someone. They're the Eagles. They have the, there's just a confidence level because I've seen it before. It's not an exciting pick.
They're very boring to watch. It's boring football.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think the Ravens could turn it around too. I just you have Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. I don't know. I think it's gonna be it's pretty wide open. So. I guess Eagles, but man, they just lost to the Cowboys. That's
bad loss, being up 21-0.
Yeah, so
wide open, dude. It's wide open.
Yeah, but what am I gonna do? Pick the Bears or something? I'm not gonna pick the Bears.
I think Rams. Rams are probably the favorites. They've done it before. McVay, Stafford. They definitely have had it. But yeah, the Eagles are definitely probably a right pick with just the way that they're able.
Seahawks are pretty good too, actually. It does feel NFC heavy.
Yes.
In terms of teams, I have confidence in.
Chiefs, I think, do you think Chiefs are done? Or do you think, is this dynasty going to continue? Or do you think it could be over?
Yeah, I mean, they might need the kind of gap year we're talking about with some of these NBA teams to, reset the cap sheet and stuff like that. They might still make the playoffs. And, I know some of their underlying metrics are stronger than their actual record. I don't know, though. The only Chiefs game I've watched in full this year was the Jaguars game. And that was embarrassing for them, so I don't know. I don't have all the confidence in the world in them either.
No, listen, it's fun and we're enjoying it. But listen, Jays free agency. Hopefully, we start hearing some stuff. We want Bo back, please. Raptors balling out. To end this off, what's your prediction for tonight's game, Pacers versus Raptors?
Yeah, I think Raptors in a close one. Siakam always plays really well in Toronto. Nembhard and Mathurin playing at home. Mathurin's had some good games against the Raptors before. No RJ, of course. But this is the NBA Cup, and the Raptors are obviously the best NBA Cup team this year. So Raptors in a close one.
Raptors in a tie one. All right, I'm very excited to see Blake Murphy once again. Thank you so much for coming on. You guys can follow Blake on Twitter at BlakeMurphyODC and listen to the Raptors show every day at 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Also, one last thing. What's the biggest difference doing Jays Talk Plus with Julia to now doing Raptors show with Matt?
I think, one, the show's only 1 hour, so it's easier for that. But baseball, there's a game every day. So you always have something new and fresh to talk about, whereas basketball, we do a lot more NBA-wide stuff, whereas Jays Talk Plus, we pretty much just keep it Jays. There's a game every day. NBA, it's kind of we'll talk about the Raptors one day, and then we'll talk about the NBA wide, which is a lot of fun. It's fun to mix it up like that. That's probably the biggest difference.
Yes, love both shows. I'm missing Jay's talk. Don't get me wrong, I'm missing it a lot, but I'm definitely loving Raptors show now. And as you said, a lot of exciting stuff in the NBA, anyways. And I love to hear about what's going on in the world. But once again, Blake, thank you so much for coming on, and hope to have you on soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, everyone. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to like this episode and subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed already. All right, everyone. Bye bye.